Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to review the YouTube Red or YouTube Premium, or what the heck they call it these days, the series known as CobraKai. Now, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole series. I only got a chance to watch the 2 free episodes, the very first 2 free episodes. I did get a chance to watch those, and hopefully one of these days I'll get my partnership back, I'll make some more money, and maybe I'll go ahead and buy what it was once known as YouTube Red. Now I think it's called YouTube Premium, or whatever the heck it's called. And then I will go ahead and watch the rest of the episodes, or maybe they'll put them on DVD and I'll buy them and I'll watch them then. The first thing I'm going to say is that overall the show looks nice. It really does. And it was very nice to see these actors come back and reprise their roles in this particular series. Okay? So as far as the premise is concerned, it was a great premise. It really was. But the show was very cliched, and that's what it just filled me full of ire to see all the cliche in this show. And I'm going to illustrate it as I go through this particular review of it. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, and you can see for yourself how cliched this thing actually was. Anyway, let's go through this, shall we? If Johnny Lawrence was so angry about losing the tournament, why did he even bother keeping the broken trophy? What, it's going to remind him forever and forever that he lost the tournament? I'd have thrown that thing in the trash years ago. Just out of disgust. Now, I saw a photo of a kid on the refrigerator. I'm assuming that this is Johnny Lawrence's son. Okay, and I have seen clips that have been floating around on YouTube, and I guess that's exactly who it was. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole show, so there you go. But anyway, are we to presume that Johnny only had one kid? Alright. And, well, I was getting ready to ask what program Johnny was watching on the television, but I forgot what part of the very first episode that I was referring to. Okay, because I know that he was actually watching Iron Eagle on TV, but there was something else he was watching as well. Now, why would any kid, I don't care if they're 15 years old, why would they suddenly walk up to a complete and total stranger, not in a supermarket, not on the street, you know, when you're walking down the street? I can understand that, but just like in an alleyway or something like that, why would a child suddenly walk up to a stranger and strike up a conversation with them in this day and age? That'd be very unsafe. Okay? Now, you're telling me that very early on that Johnny was not already aware that Daniel owned an automobile dealership? Really? As much as Johnny drove around, he probably knew very well in advance that Daniel owned an auto dealership. Now, why were the children at the house he was trying to repair, or he was cleaning out the gutters, why were they bothering Johnny? What, the parents weren't watching them? Really? I guess the parents don't teach their children how not to bother workers when they're working. And while we're at it, why would Johnny presume that the children will well behave? Just because the parents said so? Really? Now, common sense here, why didn't Johnny shut off the electricity before he decided to fix the fuse box? He should have had enough common sense for that. Now, you're telling me that that lady that he was putting the television up for, okay, he was putting up that TV, you're telling me that lady did not notice where he was putting the TV before he got the project finished? The very second he walked over that particular wall, she should have said, hey, don't put it there, put it someplace else. Okay? That doesn't make any sense. Now, Johnny could have sued the convenience store owner for improper food handling. He really could have. Now, when the kid had this first confrontation with these other kids, why didn't he just suddenly bolt out of there? I know he probably lost the Pepto-Bismol, but he should have just bolted out of there and been done with it, and not said anything about these kids or nothing. Just quietly walked away and just left those kids alone. The very second he saw them in the store, he should have just put the bottle down and left. He should have realized how much trouble these kids were going to be, and he should have just taken off. Really. And you're telling me in that neighborhood, while Johnny is kicking those kids' butts, that nobody around was pulling out their smartphone and videotaping this thing or calling the police immediately? Really? Please. I know the police eventually arrived, but come on. You're telling me nobody flipped out their smartphone and started videotaping this? Really? Okay. And of course the police believe the 4 bully kids over the adult. And that's after the testimony of the victim kid. Really? Seriously? They might not believe Johnny, but they would have believed that victim kid. I'm not kidding you. I know eventually we find out his name's Miguel, but I'm just saying that at that point in the show, we didn't even know the kid's name. I'm telling you, they would have believed that kid. And if they didn't, they're stupid cops. And Johnny could have sued the police. He should have made friends with that kid right off the bat and said, hey, we're going to sue these guys for wrongfully putting me in jail. Even though I'd have a record, the point is, I didn't do anything wrong. He should have sued him. He should have helped that kid. And Johnny should have met and discussed all of this with, I believe his name was Miguel. We found that out later. But Miguel's mother, he should have talked to her immediately. He could have had quite a lawsuit on the police. He really could have. And if Johnny is so behind on his bills, how can he afford to purchase so much alcohol? I'd like to know that. So Johnny's remote isn't working, and I know he wasn't exactly sober at this point. But Johnny didn't first think to replace the batteries in the remote, then throw a fit. Now, I know Johnny is very angry at this point, but instead of just getting out of his chair and pushing the button and shutting it off, or just simply unplugging the television set, he chucks the remote into the television set? Give me a break. That was his only TV set. What was he going to do for a TV set after that? He should have thought about that. He's an intelligent guy. He could have thought of that. Now, Johnny, with a record, decides to climb into his car, intoxicated, even though he knows that he's probably going to get busted doing this. Really? I don't think he's that stupid. I know he wasn't the brightest apple in the bunch, but good night, he would have known better than done that. And he does this just after having a run-in with the law. I would think he'd want to really keep his nose clean at this point, if for nothing else, so he doesn't get thrown back in the slammer. And the police don't notice Johnny swerving all over the road. Really? Johnny parks at the gate of the Owl Valley Sports Arena. The gate is so close to the road that the 3 ladies were able to crash their car into Johnny's car? Really? His car wasn't that big. Honestly. And no other car was even on that road, and no other car hit his car. No other car on that road hit Johnny's car except these 3 ladies. Really? Boy, talk about convenient. And the tow truck driver didn't tell Johnny right off the bat where he was going to tow the car before he took it. Seriously? And how did Johnny get the rights to open a dojo when he had a criminal background? Right. Now we find out a little bit later that this Miguel, his last name is Diaz. Okay, why didn't Mr. Diaz, or Miguel, walk out of the dojo when Johnny denied him the medicine? Well, as soon as he flung that medicine across the wall, why didn't the kid just walk out the door? He should have said, man, enough of you, I'm out of here. Even though he really wanted to be trained, putting your health at risk is not. That kid was pretty dumb on that one. How did the young lady explain the damage to her car? That's never shown in either one of the first 2 episodes. Why didn't Daniel make his daughter Samantha clean up the pool party? She hosted it. That should have been her punishment. You created this mess, you clean it up. Give me a break. And Daniel should have accepted Samantha's apology right off the way. Daniel should have accepted Samantha's apology right off the bat, and he shouldn't have apologized to her for anything. He didn't do anything wrong. She did. Now, why would Miguel wear a backpack into the lunchroom? Really? Now, the city health department waited until Johnny formally opened his door to his dojo before they inspected it. They should have been there the first day. And the guy who gave Johnny the lease didn't tell Johnny about the licensing? I don't believe it. Not at all. So, the thing is, like I said, this show is very cliched. Obviously, on the first episode, we get it. Johnny's the bad guy. I mean, you couldn't have had it any more cliched than that. And then, when you go to the second episode and you see Daniel LaRusso, okay, this guy's like freaking Peter Pan. There's nothing wrong with his life. Nothing at all. Seriously? It's like, no. I mean, his life was way too perfect. So do you see where the problem comes in on this show? It's just so incredibly cliched. Everything should have been a lot more subtle. It really should have. It would have added a little more depth to the show. But there you go. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about CobraKai. I hope the rest of the episodes are not like this. I really do. I think it would be a huge disappointment if they were all like this. You know, it's like, oh, come on. This is way too obvious. I mean, they could have had a lot more flashbacks on Johnny. I know psychologically because I took a course in psychology in college. I did some studies in psychology after that. I got curious about it, so I just went ahead and read some books on it. And I can tell you right now that one little tournament doesn't make a person sour. There has to be more to the story. If they had done some more flashbacks in the first episode, we would have maybe felt something for Johnny. I know we had pity on him, but we could have felt some other things as well. And as for Daniel, that's way too Peter Pan for my taste, really. They could have done a better job on this. They really could have. And maybe they did the rest of the show. I don't know. I didn't watch the rest of it. But if you're going to get me to subscribe for $10 a month, you got to do better than this. Much better than this. So, I know it's kind of harsh as a review. Like I said, the premise was fine. It's just the way they did it. I wouldn't have paid $10 to see the rest of it. But maybe at some point I find it dirt cheap, a used copy or whatever of a DVD that has the stuff on there. Or maybe they give a discount and you can order up the episodes for like $1 a piece, and I can watch them that way. You know. But the first two, no, it didn't convince me to watch the rest of the show. It really didn't. We'll see how the rest of them turn out. If you guys want me to review them, well, best thing you do is to help me raise my ratings so I can. Anyway, I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation and hanging in there with me. I think you can begin to see what I'm talking about. You're really able to see that. I know a lot of people are like, whoa, this was the most fantastic show in the world, but if you really look at it from what I'm seeing, not so much. I've seen better. Alright, even the Karate Kid movies were better than this. So, hopefully, like I said, hopefully the rest of the season was better than this. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so if I ever get a chance, I will, and if I do, I'll review it. And I might be much nicer in those reviews than I am on this one, but these first two, they could have done a much better job. Alright, well, that's all I've got for tonight. I want to thank you guys very much for watching this particular presentation. I will tell you more in a future presentation, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.